There are no two ways about it. Your mind is overwhelmed. And not just overwhelmed, hey, buddy, this is ramen. Not just overwhelmed, but very typically, I see a lot of people whose minds are kind of on the edge of breaking point. That point where you are so stressed out, you're so overwhelmed. And not only that, you can't actually figure out a way forward. Because although there are many wonderful solutions, like having a pet, like ramen here, it's hard to figure out how to implement them when you are so overwhelmed. So, in this video, I'm going to go over 3 reasons why your mind needs a break and what you can actually do to put some strategy into this chaos, put a plan into this chaos, because you don't have to live this way. We have been conditioned in a very hustle type of culture where if you're not busy all the time, if you're not moving all the time, if you don't have 1,000 things on your plate, then you're just not doing well in life. But the truth is that nobody is meant to live like that. We aren't meant to live stressed out all the time like that. And that may sound crazy because that is how we live most of our lives, is stressed out about something all the time, to the point that we don't even remember a time when anything was any different than that. But the truth is that we cannot sustain that way of living. Mental health is dropping at an all time low, and physical health is suffering as a result of that too. So we now have a circumstance where both mentally we are at the edge, absolutely drained. Anxiety is through the roof, depression is through the roof, isolation, social isolation is through the roof. And stuff like obesity, which in itself is not necessarily a problem, but it's a symptom of other problems. So I'm looking at ill health overall because people talk about obesity as being like the thing that causes the problem, but I don't see that as true. What I see as true is something else is causing the problem, and that is the manifestation of that problem. There's a really brilliant doctor by the name of Gabor Mate, and if you haven't seen any of his stuff, it's worth checking out. But one of the things that he talks about the most is that the manifestation of our physical illnesses is actually a result of our mental traumas, of our stresses, of the things in life that were supposed to be short-lived or were not supposed to haunt us, but they do. And we pretend that they don't exist, or we pretend that it's not a big deal. When the truth is, our body remembers. It holds that memory, it holds that stress, it holds that trauma, and we think that we are separate from our minds. It's a very, very Western thing to think, is that our mind is separate from our body. And most in fact, I'm going to go ahead and say all ancient cultures and most cultures who have a very long history know that you cannot separate the being that we are. You cannot separate the mind from the body. The body isn't some crazy thing that's acting of its own accord. It's not walking around with its own separate mind. Your body is a part of you, is a manifestation of you, of your mental health, of your well-being. Even if you look at when you're stressed, do you make healthy food choices? Likely, no. If you're stressed, do you take care of yourself physically? Do you go get a massage if you need it, or go and get your back adjusted at the chiropractor, or go and work out, for example, or go to a sauna, go to a spa? Do you do all those things? Typically, the answer is no. And so this is a manifestation. We can't separate the mind and the body. And that's very new and that's very Western. And it doesn't work. And how I can tell you it doesn't work is because I'm looking at the results. You and I together are looking at the results of thinking that you can separate the mind from the body. And that is declining mental health, and that is declining physical health. And it's a separation from our bodies. How many of you know that emotions are actually tied to a physical feeling in your body? That might be new information for you unless you've been watching us for a while, either here or on geopolitics and conflict. You might know from there, because we talk about it all the time, you cannot separate your emotions or thoughts from your physical body. Imagine this. The last time you were in love, you didn't just think about it in your head. You didn't just think, oh, I'm so in love with this person. Every time you thought of this person, you probably got a flutter in your heart, or maybe your body got warm, or maybe you got really excited. Your body tells you how it's feeling, and it's back and forth, a feedback. This is the other dog, Thunder. Pets are amazing resources for feeling a lot better, and there's a lot of science that backs up people with pets are actually a lot healthier and happier because they're pure love, huh, buddy? Okay, so let's dive into these three things. The first is our definition of well-being has somehow become a version of risk or not taking risks. And somehow that's mental well-being. That is not well-being. That is risk aversion or not wanting to take risks, which in its own way can be very smart. You don't want to be crazy. You don't want to be wild. You don't want to be reckless with the risks that you take in life. But there is no real safety in life. There is no real certainty. There is no real, this is the way that it's going to be. How often have you made a plan only to have that plan go the opposite way that you wanted it to go? We cannot control everything in our lives. We can control some things, but we can't control the vast majority of what happens to us. All we can control is who we are, what we do, what we experience, and choose how to react in those circumstances. But we ourselves cannot control everything. And so it's an illusion, and it's one that makes us miserable to think that we can, or to think that there's something wrong with us because we can't control everything. That's just, it's not the reality, and it's not the reality for anybody. Nobody has that level of control. Even the people, even the billionaires, even the people who have tons and tons of money, they can strategize, but they too can't control every single thing in their world, even though they seem to really want to. And I understand why wanting to control things, I have absolutely been like this before. Wanting to control things is one of the surest ways to find misery, because you find that you can't control things, and things cannot be the way that you want them to be all the time. And being completely risk averse, not wanting to take any risks at all, leads to a very unfulfilling life. Because a lot of the best things that we have in life come from calculated risks, where it might go our way, it might not go our way. And in fact, when we have a victory, when it was less likely to go our way, we're a lot happier about it. We enjoy that victory all the more because it was risky and we did win, when there was every indication that we weren't going to. So putting yourself out there is risky. Going after your dreams is risky. Going after what you want is risky. But I remember I was listening to Jim Carrey give a speech, and this is a fairly famous Jim Carrey speech. And what he was talking about was that, Jim Carrey is a famous comedian, for those of you who don't know. And he's very, very famous, and he's very successful, and he's very funny. And he was talking about his father, and his father wanted to be a comedian himself, but he said, no, I'm going to go the safe route, and I'm going to become an accountant. And so he did. His father gave up his dream of becoming a comedian and became an accountant so that he would provide safety and security and stability for his family, so that he would guarantee himself success in life. Well, Jim Carrey said that when he was young, his father lost his safe job, the safe, reliable, comfortable job that he had taken just to provide safety for his family. And Jim Carrey said, in that moment, I learned a valuable lesson from my father. That is that you can also fail at what you don't want. So you might as well go for what you do want. There is risk either way. There is no guarantee in life. And if you live without taking risks, it is actually a hit on your well being and not something that makes you healthier. And we've watched that over the last few years where people were less and less willing to take risks. Relationships with other people are very risky. You might get your heart broken. You might get hurt. You might get betrayed. You might get left behind. There are many risks in building relationships with people. The problem is the consequences are a lot worse if you don't. We are not meant to be alone. And in the last video I did, I talked about this. We are not designed to be alone. We are designed to be with other people. We're designed to have social connections. We're designed to have people who love us and people who we love. But those come with risks. But as you become healthier and healthier and you get to know yourself more and more, you get to know the types of people that you really would like to be around. And the risk becomes less and less that way. So instead of just saying, oh, I'm not going to deal with that, I'm not going to take that risk at all, you learn how to take smarter, more calculated risks, but still take them because there are no guarantees in life. And the moment you let go of the illusion that there really is control, because there isn't, you will free yourself up. You will feel a lot more at peace. And it's hard. That's a very hard concept to hold on to because we want certainty as human beings when the reality is there really isn't any certainty. So that's number one. The second is that there are a lot of options for wellness. There's a lot of options. There's, working out and all of the different types of workouts. There are all the different types of diets. There's meditation, which if you were to pick one thing, I would highly recommend meditation first. But that's kind of the problem is, do you go to yoga? Do you go to church if that's what you do? Do you go to, the farmer's market to get food, or do you order DoorDash? What do you do actually to bring well-being into your life? Most people are running so fast that they don't have time for anything else. But here's my question. What are you doing? And you may think, well, everything that I'm doing in my life is absolutely necessary, Elizabeth. There is absolutely nothing that is a waste of my time that I do. I just do absolutely everything. My whole day is full of just absolutely necessary things for me, for my well-being, for the well-being of my family. And that very well might be true. So I'm not arguing if that is the case. But most people tend to have things that they do during the day that steal time from them. And most of all, that steal energy from them. So let's say you're checking your socials. And I know that checking your socials can also be a way to make you feel connected to other people. But that's a question on its own. Do you feel so disconnected from other people that you have to look at little boxes on a screen to kind of get that dopamine hit to feel connected to other people? So, how long do you spend on social medias? How many TV shows have you watched? And some of that is that you are so mentally exhausted from all of the ways in which you expend your energy that you can't really do anything other than kind of mindlessly zone out. That is going to take a while to fix that. But what I'm telling you is you have a question that you need to answer for yourself. And that is this how I really want to live my life? And is it a life worth living to spend however long scrolling Instagram or watching TV instead of being out in your own life? Because if you wanted to fill your time with stuff, there's tons of things to fill your time with. The question is what you're filling your time with really worth your time? Your time is the only thing you can never get back. You can't get time back. And when we pass, it's one of the biggest regrets that people have is that they wasted their time doing things that weren't their song to sing, that weren't the highest expression of who they are and what they wanted for their own lives. They spent too much time doing the things that other people wanted them to do instead of what they wanted to do for themselves. So I'm asking you, and I'll give you an exercise later on at the end of this video. I'll give you an exercise that will really help this if you do want to take stock of what you're doing every day and see if that either gives you energy and makes you feel better, or if it drains your energy and makes you feel worse. This was one of the most valuable exercises that I have ever led people through. It is the most eye-opening exercise for your own life. And it's no judgment. Whatever you're doing right now, you have gotten to this point in life, and you should celebrate wherever it is that you're at. Celebrate wherever it is that you're at and ask yourself what you want in the future. What will your future self thank you for today? Because you don't make big changes overnight. It's very rare, and especially the good ones, they take time. And they take discipline, they take work. So that's kind of the next point. So the third point, and that is that we have really confused priorities. What really are our priorities in life? Do you know what your priorities are? Typically people say, well, family, friends, my career. Well, that's all great, but it's not specific. What do you want for your family? Let's say it's for your relationship with your spouse. What do you really want for that relationship? Do you want a partnership where you guys grow and have specific goals together? Do you want, do you want more intimacy? Do you want happiness and joy? Do you want to go on vacations together? Do you want to retire early? What do you want? Do you want to raise healthy, happy kids? Do you want kids who are ready to express what they really feel and want to express in the world? Do you want kids who can be courageous in the face of the challenges that are facing us right now? What do you specifically want for your life? Not in vague general terms, but like really specifically. So for me, one of my goals is to level the playing field for you guys. The powers that be, the power brokers, the real ones, they have resources that you don't have. They understand how people work, and they're not teaching any of the rest of us how to do that. I've had to spend my lifetime since I'm the daughter of a psychologist. And so he started training me when I was old enough to speak. But I have learned my entire life, I've worked my entire life to gather this information, to understand, to work with different people, to figure out how human beings work. The power brokers, they know, they have this information, but it's not information you are taught. So to me, I want to level the playing field for you guys so that you also understand how to thrive in this world, and that information shouldn't just be for the top of the top. That information should be for everybody, because everyone deserves a chance to thrive and to be really happy and to live a life where you express what you are here to express in this world. That's really specific. That's what I'm here for. That is my biggest life's mission. And so for you, it doesn't have to be something like that. It can be that you want to raise kids who know who they are. Or it could be that you want to know who you are. It could be that you want to make a positive impact on the world. You want to clean up the world's oceans. Or quite frankly, you want the highest position in your company because it affords you the freedom to travel more. You may want to see the world. You may want to see your own country. Whatever that is for you is perfect. You may want to have your own business. You may want to have real estate, or whatever it is that you want for yourself. You may want to retire your parents. You may want to provide an amazing Christmas dinner for your family, whatever it is. You have to be able to identify what is most important to you in your own life. And once you really have that identified, then you can decide what is going to get me there. What are the things that are going to help me get there? If I have more energy, am I going to be able to accomplish my goal, my dreams? If I have more energy, am I going to be able to spend more time with my spouse or more time with my kids? If I have more energy, am I going to have more energy to build that business? If I have more energy, am I going to have more energy to do better at work? So if you need more energy, what could help you? How about eating better? Eating better on its own could give you more energy. What about exercising? What about whatever it is? Meditation. Like I said, I am a big advocate for meditation because in meditation you learn about yourself. And I don't know that there is a greater gift than being able to learn about you, who you are on the inside. And who you are on the inside is what radiates out to the outside. So, those are the top 3 things. Now, as promised, here is the exercise that I learned from a bunch of wonderful, wonderful people at an organization called Heart Math. So, Heart Math is an organization that actually does research, scientific research studies on the heart, because it turns out that the heart actually gets information before the brain. And so the heart is sort of the center of what we are, and it even sends information up to the brain before the brain disseminates it out to everybody else. So, this exercise, the simple version is this: you write down the things in your life. So, let's say you have a bunch of things that are bothering you on one side. And then you have a bunch of things and you write these down. So on this side, you have all of the things that are bothering you. It can be, my boss didn't listen to me at work. I got angry at my brother. I had road rage in the car. I felt like crying, but I didn't. I am experiencing grief or whatever it is. So, whatever the issue is in your life, you write that down. Then you write down the consequence of that. So, let's say I had a fight with my brother. The consequence of that fight with my brother is that I felt, and it's a feeling, right? So I felt stressed out, I felt upset, I felt unloved, I felt uncared for. So these are all negative emotions. And then you write, is it draining me or is it empowering me? And you can pretty clearly see that that is something that's draining you. So on the other side, or under it, wherever you want on a piece of paper, you write down the things that are actually nourishing you. So you write down the things that are nourishing you. So you saw my dogs earlier, taking my dogs on a walk every day, and then you write how it makes you feel. That makes me feel, it makes me feel healthy. It makes me feel strong. It makes me feel loved. It makes me feel like I'm caring for them. And then you write down next to it whether it's empowering you or it's draining you or it's empowering you. And the things in the positive category are typically going to be empowering you. But you get to really see what the consequences are for whatever is happening. So, in the case of fights with your brother, you probably want less of that, or whatever the equivalent is for you. You probably want less of that. And now that you see the consequence is that this type of behavior makes you feel really angry and really upset and really anxious. Is that something that you want more of? And so the last part is you want to be really honest with yourself and you say, do I want more of it or do I want less of it? Well, if it's something that costs you having anxiety and stress and unhappiness, you probably don't want more of it, but you need to be honest with yourself about whether it's something you want more of or less of, because there are times when we fight with people where we would rather be right than happy. And when that comes up, you sit there and you say, okay, I understand the consequences of fighting with my brother are that I feel anxious and I feel sad and I feel upset and I feel unloved. Do I want more of that or do I want less of that? And the reality is, I want less of it. So when it comes up, when it happens again, because these stressors, they happen over and over again, right? Do I choose to have that argument again or do I not? Because I understand what the consequences are. And I've already said I want less of it. But be really honest, because sometimes we think there are no consequences to the negative things that we do or the negative things that are happening in our life. And if it's a circumstance that needs changing, and you look at those consequences and you say, okay, I am not willing to be anxious. I'm not willing to feel unloved. I'm not willing to feel unhappy. You figure out what the solution is to that problem. And it may not be overnight. It may not be an overnight fix. It may be something that takes a long time to fix, but you see the consequences and you decide you do not want any more of this and that you are going to fix it. And take stock of your life, the things that upset you the most, and then also take a look at the things that bring you the most joy and happiness. So, walking my dogs, for example. So, walking my dogs is something that I do every day or almost every day. And I do in the world and breathing the fresh air. So, I want more of that. And take a look at that list of things and see how you can bring more of those things into your life. Let's say I was only walking the dogs 3 times a week. Maybe I would bump it up to 4 times a week. And then I would get to feel that love. I would get to feel that adventure, that sense of taking care of them. I would get to feel that one more time a week. And that would increase my quality of life. So, take these two categories of things and really take stock of your life and specifically focus on the consequences. What are the consequences of these things in your life? And then if you don't want them to happen anymore, make the choice and stick with it. You are not going to succeed immediately. I'm not going to say never, because sometimes we do. Sometimes we do succeed immediately, but that's not most of the time. Most of the time we find something and we have to figure out how to fix it. And nobody else can tell us how to do it. We have to figure that out for ourselves. But luckily for you, you are smart and you are resourceful. So I know that you can do it. The only way to fail is to stop trying. So keep going. Thank you guys. And I will see you on the next video. Bye for now.